Hey there. Welcome to The Hash on CoinDesk TV. I'm Zach Seward. I'm joined today by Naomi Brockwell, Will Foxley, Jen Sanasi, and we have a special guest today, actually. And I'm going to toss it to Jen to intro that guest. Jen, take it away.
All right. So two-time Grammy-nominated DJ and producer Steve Aoki is launching Aokiverse. Now, this is a community for his fans to gain access to exclusive events and opportunities in the metaverse and in real life. He joins us now to tell us more about the project and his vision for Web3 as it pertains to artists. Hello, Steve.
Hey, what's up, guys? What's up, everyone?
No, we're just chilling here on a wonderful afternoon. Yeah. Why don't you start off by telling us what is the Aokiverse?
The Aokiverse is an exclusive membership community that me and my team started building out a few months back, maybe like six to 8 months ago. And it's the way I see it is like, of course, there's a lot that I offer personally with live shows and everything I'm doing in Web 3.0, but it's all about the friends and family for me. It's like bringing all my partners, all the different companies and artists and projects and whatever that kind of in my network that I'm able to bring with me into this space. As I move forward as well, I'm talking to all different kinds of people so that they can join into the Aokiverse and do fun activations and collaborations and partnerships, airdrops, whatnot. And that's what's so exciting. You know, it's like I've been working with so many different kinds of industries throughout my career, and finally I have a place to be able to actively participate with all the different people that have supported me. So this is something that's like kind of a dream come true, a way to really embrace all the worlds that I'm part of. And you know, it's just like two big playgrounds to deal with. Obviously the real world playground that we have that we exist in, and obviously, you know, the future, or actually the present at this point.
Hey, Steve, Zach here. I feel like we cover you like every month, every couple months. You're on the site, you're doing some new crypto stuff, whether that's, you know, fan-controlled football or the latest NFT drop. I just wanted to hear from you, like, what's the fascination with crypto? Like, you've clearly done several experiments in this space, and I'm curious to hear from you sort of what got you hooked and what intrigues you the most about these technologies.
I think it's exactly the fact that we are building a new frontier. If I really boil it down and I try to understand the philosophy behind it, I go back to when I was a kid and I picked up a guitar and I picked up an instrument to create something out of nothing. And I think that's the ability to try to do something new. Like, I've always been a kind of person, like I remember when I started a band, we didn't cover songs. We made new music. And that was the challenge. Like, what can we do that's new? What can we do that's building on top of things that have inspired us or myself? And this whole space is a brand new frontier. And it's allowing for so much vision and partnerships. And I think one of the most like incredible things about it is now it's like, yes, I'm so excited about what I could build in the future personally, but I'm more excited of what I could build with other people, other like-minded people that are excited about innovation and technology and what, you know, how to make an experience exciting and more, you know, something that can touch you in a way that hasn't touched you before, has made you feel something that hasn't made you feel before. It's like, it's that community. It's like working with other passionate, like-minded individuals that are like, let's like, you know, disrupt, let's make something fresh, new. And it's so now too, you know, like the way I think about music, like, you know, how I've developed or created things in the past with music, art, whatever it might be, it takes a lot longer process, where here it's like, we have to move in real time. Things are changing. Like the timelines have shifted, and now I'm like working with coders. I'm working with dev teams that I never thought I would ever work with before. It's like a different kind of collaboration. So it's just exciting because it puts you outside of your box, makes you think differently. The process is different, and I'm constantly inspired at the end of the day.
Hi, Steve. Naomi here. I have a question about your fans and how they've been responding, because you've done really well in this space so far. You've sold NFTs. I raised $4 million. And so it seems they're really getting involved. Is this an area that they were already intersecting with, or have you seen it as kind of your role to bring them into this NFT space and expose them to it?
I think, there's still a healthy amount of onboarding that needs to be done. With a lot of the fans that follow me. There is this intersection between some of the fans that are already pretty tech savvy and a lot of the fans of mine that are already in crypto or already in Web 3.0 or in NFTs. But I'm trying to introduce it to a larger base of people where it's like once you get that first kind of handheld into the space of collecting and creating, because it is this cohabitation of both. You can be a creator. I think that's where it's like really empowering to young people. I mean, young and old, anyone that's like I do love art. I do love collecting NFTs or being part of communities, but I also want to create, and that barrier of entry is a lot lower than other industries and other ways to be a part of something, to create into something. So it's been really exciting to onboard and to kind of guide, especially not just my fans, but my friends, fellow artists, fellow musicians, fellow people of influence that I know would apply some of their magic and their creativity to the space and enhance the space. So I've been very involved in the kind of the back end. It's like, yes, I'm like an artist, I'm creating and I'm collecting, but I'm also like on the back end helping tons of other artists and celebrities or influencers help them understand the space and help them guide them in a way where they're not going into murky waters where they can get hacked or there's like so many different kind of things that can happen to people that are new in the space that I've heard about, seen firsthand. It's just it's scary, it's exciting because it's brand new, and there's a lot of risks there. There's a lot of pitfalls, but I mean, it's the frontier is wide open. So it's just something I'm like that I think that like there's so many people that can create and innovate and really, like I said, build upon what they've already been inspired on.
Hey, Steve, Will here. Thanks for coming on the show today. So kind of want to follow up on what you're talking about with the pitfalls there. Obviously, Web3 has done really well this year, bringing money to creators who otherwise wouldn't be able to get involved and be monetized. That's been tremendous, but there's been a ton of criticism across the space. I'm wondering how you think about it. So like NFTs, there's always been like this criticism of they use too much energy. They're not based on renewables. Some people think NFTs are vaporware. Some people think the metaverse is vaporware. But you're on the other side of that, right? Where you're actually using these things and you're monetizing them and you're onboarding creators into this environment and they're monetizing their content for the first time. So how do you respond to critics who otherwise are just coming at this and saying everything's a scam?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you really think about anything that's new, anything that's challenging the status quo, or anything that's like, taking by storm, like something that's, like just like I said, like something that's new, there's always critics. There's always going to be the haters. There's always going to be, people trying to bring it down. I've always been an artist that have kind of changed outside of what people expected of me, like whether it's like working from one, like, being an EDM DJ, but then also working in different genres. Every time I've done something like that, I've had some sort of criticism. I remember when I first started throwing cakes back in 2011. In 2012, when it became popular, I got so much hate about that from certain, groups of people. But
can I hear what the cake hate was, though? What was the cake hate? How can you hate the cake?
Who's anti-cake?
What was it? Who's anti-cake? Name names. Give me. Come on,
gluten-free people.
Yeah,
out the cake haters.
I'd say like there's certain DJs that were like going, this is a mockery to DJing. Like, should be really focusing on like the actual mixing instead of caking, stuff like that. There's, promoters that like thought it was a gimmick and they wouldn't book me because they're like, oh, this is so lame. Like, it's like a gimmicky thing or whatever. And I'm trying to explain it like I'm just trying to entertain my audience and provide them with an experience that's a Steve Aoki experience. Every time I'm thinking about something, I want to always make it unique and give them something different than they haven't experienced before. But, people are going to say what they're going to say. I think with anything, anything new, especially if it's taking the world by storm, there's going to, obviously, it's going to be criticism. And of course, nothing is like 100% perfect. There's always problems with the things that you bring out to the world. There's always going to be issues. And as you develop them, when you can fix those issues, when you can start safeguarding and mitigating problems and focusing on like the good, and trying to make that, fix everything around that so that it actually is sustainable. That's really where I'm at. I'm trying to figure out how to make it sustainable long-term, work with people that have that kind of positive vision and go along the way and try to fix all the other issues that come along. I mean, there's nothing that's 100%.
Steve, we constantly debate on this show when it comes to people with celebrity status and people with influence, talking about the projects they love and that they are excited about. How do you think about your role in that as someone with influence, especially taking into consideration those barriers in education that we were talking about before?
Yeah. So what the question is like, what's my role as an influencer in the space?
Or like, how do you think about it? How do you think about the projects that you share and share information with your fans? Yeah,
there is definitely, the one thing I'm concerned about is, there's nothing 100% sure. Like you could believe in something and it could like it can fall off a cliff, and so for me, the way I see it is like if I'm going to share something that I'm excited about, it's like because I'm invested into it or I already support it. And I think it sucks to see other people, especially fans that follow you or friends that follow you, lose money on certain things or lose whatever on certain things that you're supporting. So you have to be careful. You have to be careful on what you put out there. And I feel like the people that really care about that are, obviously going to have more of a long-term place in the whole space. And, I always look at it like this too. Like whenever I invest in something, it's, you want to know the backstory of the creators if you can. Sometimes I ape in, actually, not sometimes. A lot of times I ape into things where I don't know the backstory and I'm kind of like FOMOing in, because I see a lot of my friends do it. I think we've all been subject to that. But if you can know the backstory of some of the projects, it goes a long way for me. If I know like the person behind the project is an avid collector that is already in the space and is investing into the industry, of course it's going to make a big difference. These kinds of things matter to me as a collector, as a supporter, and as an influencer. And even for myself, I'm in it for the long haul with NFTs. I think this is the start. I always say this is like the preseason. If we're talking about a game, we haven't even started the first inning yet. Like Web 3.0, the term Web 3.0, I feel like it was birthed like a few months ago. It's we haven't really begin to actively know what that looks like. We can envision it. And that's why everyone's buying land and Decentraland and Sandbox and whatnot. What does that look like? What will that be? What is Roblox 3.0? Like all these things are being set up now, and no one's entering it. Roblox exists, right? For the kids. There's no Roblox 3.0 yet properly that everyone uses. So we're all excited. People like myself are excited about what that looks like. Because I think one thing that's important to talk about is that what is Web 3.0? And I had to talk to some of my friends about this. Web 3.0, the easiest way for me to explain it is that you own your data, whereas we've been okay for the last decade where, Facebook has owned your data. We're okay with that. We're okay to go into a space going, you own it all. We just want to be in it because all our friends are there, and this is just how we socialize. This is how we communicate. It's how we buy, sell, and trade. It's how we exist. And by default, these large companies own your data. Well, I love the fact that this is changed where 3.0 is like you own your data. You go to the party and you leave with your clothes on instead of taking your clothes off as you leave the house. It's like, you go to a house party, you're like, okay, I got my cool outfit on, and they're like, it's time to leave, but I have to take all my whole outfit off now and like leave it at the house. Like I want to leave with my outfit. It's like, I think when you kind of explain it like that, it's clear like you want to be part of Web 3.0. It's like it's not so scary. And yes, of course, just like that previous question, there's going to be some issues. There's going to be some criticism, and criticism is a good thing, as long as it's healthy and constructive. Like, how do we safeguard it? How do we be more environmentally sound? How do we do things so we're covering the bases to make it, more inclusive and but the idea, I think the most important is the idea is that let's leave with our clothes on. You know what I mean? And as we build out this whole world, really excited about it. There's going to be a lot of innovation. I think this is the most fastest innovative industry I've ever experienced. And just like anything that's new, anything that's fast paced, there's going to be a lot of fails. There's going to be a lot of issues that arise. And yes, people will lose money. Yes, people will gain a lot of money. It is that roller coaster. I'm looking for sustainability. I'm looking for the long game. I'm looking for something that's constantly developing and building and being part of something long term, which is why I'm really excited about Aokiverse. I remember like before when we're building out this larger platform, it was like, oh, we should do a PFP. I'm like, of course, like a PFP would be cool, but like, what's more important? I think it's better to build a membership community that brings in all the network that I've been a part of, all the different friends and family. I mean, when you think about all the different networks that just in NFTs alone, from, working with, the hundreds and the atom bombs and to the doodles to Janksy to wherever it is, like having your friends network come into your space with you and be able to participate in this bigger world, and then do interesting drops that we curate that I believe in, that we believe in. I think that's way more exciting. I think it's going to be really cool.
Steve, we got to wrap it up now, but I have one final question. It's just a one-word answer. What's the most expensive NFT that you hold?
It's definitely the doodle, the alien doodle.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's
well,
cool. I
so
saw
I'm going
you
to go
shared
and
it on
tweet.
stage last month.
Yeah, that's the one I showed on. Yeah, I was like, wow, because it is up there. It's like definitely that. Yeah, that one.
That's awesome. Steve, thank you so much for joining us on The Hash. Like Zach said, we talk about you all the time. So it was great to hear about the Aokiverse from your mouth. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
See you.
I'm going to tweet that
the
out.
next story.
According to Steve Aoki, leave with your clothes on.
Leave with your clothes on.
That was good. I like that statement.
There.
That was a good one. Yeah. Keep your clothes on, folks. Keep your clothes on. All right. We're going to go to the next story. We're going to stay in NFT land. There was some news this morning that was rather interesting about GameStop's NFT plans. This was closely watched, and they selected a technology provider in Immutable X to power the GameStop NFT marketplace. Now, this followed a bunch of speculation that Loopring was going to be a technology provider. Loopring actually gets a shout out in some of the filings that came out this morning. So a lot of interesting stuff here. I want to throw it to Naomi for your initial thoughts on the GameStop news.
So I want to know what role Loopring does have in all of this, because I think everyone was projecting that, when GameStop first came out with this news that they were going into Web3, they were like, okay, it's a partnership with Loopring. There were all of these, like if you looked on the Reddit threads, there were all of this analysis and deep dives. And that meme where you've got like the red line next to each other and all of the things on the pinup board. And that's what people were doing. They were tracing all these lines and saying it's definitely going to be Loopring. But they're tapping Immutable X for this. So Zach, I'm going to throw it back to you. I would love to know what shout outs and how they are involved, because that wasn't really the big headline that we saw today.
Yeah, for sure. So first of all, great usage of the Pepe Sylvia meme from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That is the name of that meme. Yeah. You can Google it. Great meme. All right. Anyway, shout out to that. All right. Secondly, shout out in the SEC filings. Loopring does get a mention, and it's an interesting mention that has sort of like sparked some confusion out here on crypto Twitter. Basically what it says is the first thing that GameStop is going to use for its layer 2 NFT integration is Immutable X. But then beyond that, after Immutable X has been used, Loopring may also be used. So there's a lot of Loopring bag holders out there who are seeing that as positive news for something that really rallied on rumors of being added into the GameStop NFT marketplace. So interesting stuff there. I'm really curious to see what this does, because we've obviously talked about this a bunch and we've seen this a lot, that gamers have kind of become the final boss of NFT adoption. There's a lot of distrust, animosity, and outright name calling when it comes to NFTs in the gaming space. So for GameStop to roll this out, I'm really curious to see if this is immediately rejected as just, another NFT money grab, or if this is something that gamers ultimately warm to and see as potentially useful in their favorite titles. So that's what I'm watching. Aside from the technology integrations, that to me is the story here. But we're just going to have to see what happens. Now, Jen, what are your thoughts?
So I didn't know that there was a game developers conference, but there is one, and apparently it happened in January. Oh, no, actually, I don't know if it happened in January. I think it's happening in March, but they did a survey in January asking gaming developers how they felt about crypto or NFTs in games. The majority of respondents were against it, citing scams, monetization concerns, and environmental impact. And some comments I just have to read because they are so angry. One person said, I'd rather not endorse burning a rainforest down to confirm someone owns a JPEG. And how this hasn't been identified as a pyramid scheme is beyond me. And so the GameStop and Immutable X partnership is interesting to me because they are tackling two of those problems that the developers cited in this survey, right? Immutable X is allegedly the first carbon neutral platform. Will is not here. He would tell you that they're just buying carbon credits, but that is part of their marketing strategy, that they're carbon neutral. And they have this $100 million fund for developers. So I think it's maybe clever. They're listening to the gamers and the developers in the States and trying to tackle their issues head on. So I am interested to see what happens. Maybe they can finally crack the gamers.
I think we've got a long way to go to crack the gamers, though. I think to get them on side, I'm just wondering how much it's going to take, because logic clearly doesn't do the trick. They're literally cherry picking data from the crypto world and saying this worst project in here that is the most disastrous in this, small area that I dislike we're going to paint the whole area with the same brush. And I mean, proof of stake is inherently doesn't use energy. It's no proof of work. You don't actually have to do things in order to validate. And so it's clear that they're just kind of ignoring that. And that makes me really annoyed. First of all, because I feel bad for them. They're missing out on this whole world that actually would be really cool and helpful for them. And instead they choose to just parrot this ridiculous narrative and jump on this bandwagon of hate. And I feel sorry for anyone that feels the need to do that. Where I would encourage people to keep an open mind, explore things, do research, and actually understand that there's a lot more to this world than the giant headlines you'll see in the New York Times. So gamer community, it's on you. Just start researching this world a little more. There's probably a lot that you've missed out. But let's change track there. We're going to look at some exploits. So Wormhole, giant exploit. Apparently, a hacker walked away with $326 million worth of crypto, which was crazy. So if you don't know what Wormhole is, it's a popular bridge for connecting Ethereum, Solana, a bunch of others. And there was this hack. Some people noticed that there were like 80,000 ETH that was moved to an address that was also in possession of $250 million worth of ETH. They realized that there was this exploit, so they started to negotiate on chain with this hacker to see, can we offer you a bounty? Apparently, the development team of Wormhole offered this hacker $10 million. There's been ongoing negotiations, and then we just got word this morning that apparently they all funds have been restored. They tweeted, Wormhole tweeted this morning that the service is back up, funds have been restored, and they promise a full incident report of what happened. I'm super intrigued by this. Is this a gray hat? Is this a white hat? Is this a black hat who got threatened? That's a very gray area, right? It's just a very interesting scenario. I'm looking forward to this incident report, but I'll throw it to you, Zach, for your take.
Yeah, so the latest is that this is a big old DeFi bailout. So the owner of Certus One, which developed the Wormhole bridge, is Jump Capital. They have a crypto trading wing. According to sources, talking to CoinDesk, it's a bailout from Jump. They're the folks who have, quote unquote, restored the funds that are now back on the bridge to maintain functionality for what has become a critical piece of infrastructure for the Solana DeFi ecosystem. So there was a lot of worry that this would have spillover effects to other Solana projects and other things across this very composable DeFi world. And so sources say that Jump has stepped in to restore these funds to avoid such a catastrophe. So interesting stuff here.
We're dealing with a black hat.
Yeah.
We
don't know yet. We don't know yet.
Funds.
Incident report. We do not know. I think it's going to be hard for that person or persons to walk away with the entire amount. And I think, people sort of looking at 10 million versus 326 million, maybe should understand that. But it's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds. But for this, in terms of a stopgap measure to make sure that this doesn't, have contagion effects, it appears as though Jump Capital has restored the funds that have been pilfered in this exploit. But Jen, very curious for your thoughts.
Yeah, I just actually have a question for Naomi. I know you're going to talk about the tweet from Vitalik that was mentioned in this article. And I myself am guilty, even though I understand the difference between multi-chain and cross-chain, of confusing the words, right? And Vitalik talks about how cross-chain bridges are not secure, but I'm curious as to why they're so popular then. So maybe you can explain it to us and tell us why it's so popular if it's so largely known that they're not secure and susceptible to hacks like this.
For sure. Let's start by looking into this tweet. So Vitalik was quite prescient. He said a couple of months ago, the start of January, he said, my argument for why the future will be multi-chain, but it will not be cross-chain. There are fundamental limits to the security of bridges that hop across multiple zones of sovereignty. He goes into very clearly explain what those limitations are, the security vulnerabilities there. And lo and behold, a couple of months later, we end up with, 1 month later, we end up with a big hack. So a lot of people are citing Vitalik's tweet saying he's incredibly prescient in this. Some other people are saying, you proved your point, Vitalik, give back the money. Not sure that it was Vitalik there. So to answer your question, Jen, multi-chain, I mean, we've got this multi-chain world currently. We're not converging upon one single currency. In fact, the predominance of Bitcoin is going down over time, but they tend to be siloed. There were these walled gardens that have their own ecosystem. Now, what we've done to sort of bridge those worlds is build these bridges like Wormhole, which connect these different siloed gardens. And that's a multi-chain, that's a like cross-chain world where people can wrap things, move to other ecosystems, etc. And Vitalik's saying that that's inherently insecure because those bridges do not have the correct security needed to safeguard these assets. But Zach, I'll throw it to you for your final thoughts on all this.
Yeah, no, that was it. I mean, you got to get your money from one ecosystem to the next. And that's why these bridges have proved extremely popular, often with the help of little incentives to get people to start voting with their feet and get across from one side of the chasm to the other. But this is interesting. Some blockchain analytics firms are calling this exploit the fourth largest in crypto history. So it's going to be interesting to see how it unfolds for Wormhole and other folks in the Solana DeFi ecosystem. All right, that's it for the show today. We're wrapping. I'm Zach. That's Jen. That's Naomi. Will's gone. Free will.
We lost him.
Free will. Free will movement. Free will movement. And we definitely want to offer a special thanks and shout out to wonderful guest, Steve Aoki, who joined us on the show earlier today. All right, that's it. We'll be back tomorrow. Happy Thursday. We're eyeing a happy Friday. That's for sure. I'm Zach. Again, Jen, Naomi, it's The Hash on CoinDesk TV.
Bye.
You're great. We'll see you soon. Bye.